1980s, the duo of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson dominated the NBA. But at times, their brilliance obscured the decade's other superstars. One of them was Detroit's electrifying point guard, Isiah Thomas, who had emerged as one of the premier players of his era.
Isiah, maybe 5 inches taller, the greatest player to ever play the game.
While in New York, forward Bernard King was an explosive force who was lighting up NBA scoreboards.
Bernard King was one of the most devastating and entertaining scorers in the history of the game.
All right, here it is. Bernard looking for 50, and he's got it. Back-to-back 50-point games for Bernard King.
Thomas and King would meet in the first round of the 1984 playoffs as the Pistons faced the Knicks. And with New York trailing in the fourth quarter of Game 1, Bernard would single-handedly lead them back.
Here's King moving on from Puka. Yes.
The Pistons had no answers for King, who poured in 36 points as the Knicks captured Game 1.
When we walked off the floor, we thought that we had their number and that we could beat them every game because Bernard was just that good at that time.
And Bernard would continue his rampage, averaging over 42 points through the first 4 games of the series.
Again for King, and he beats Puka. Yes, and it counts.
After those games, you'd go in the Pistons locker room and those guys would just be shaking their head. They were intimidated and awed by Bernard.
One Piston who was not awed was Isiah, who had picked up the gauntlet thrown down by King.
I think Isiah go mano-a-mano with anybody in the league. If you asked him, he thought he was just as good, if not better, than a lot of other cats in the league.
And Thomas would provide his own heroics in Game 4, leading Detroit to a series-tying victory.
A happy group of Detroit Pistons, because they're going back to the Motor City with the Knicks to play for it all.
The 5th and deciding game would be played in the unfamiliar surroundings of Detroit's Joe Louis Arena, where the conditions were less than ideal.
It was at least 120 in there that evening. We had an added problem because Bernard King had the flu. And then he had a splint on the middle finger of the one hand and a splint on the middle finger of the other hand, playing with 2 dislocations.
King, yes, and it counts.
That time Bernard King did use his left hand, and he also hurt his finger.
Only the great can tunnel vision and focus and block out pain. And that's what Bernard King did.
Neither the injury nor the Pistons could stop Bernard, who had 40 points by the end of regulation.
Bernard King got into one of those games where we just couldn't control him.
And thanks to King's inspired play, the Knicks seemed to be in total command of the game.
We were up big going into the last 94 seconds. And then Isiah Thomas put on one of the greatest shows ever seen in the NBA.
In those final moments, Thomas would simply impose his will on the game. With the Pistons trailing by 8, he took it upon himself to bring them back.
Here's Thomas, and the foul.
He decided that he wasn't going to lose that night, and he decided to turn it up a notch.
Isiah Thomas has brought the crowd up off of the seats.
Isiah right back, and the foul.
I'd hate to be one of the defensive guards for the Knicks right now because he's a man possessed, and he is doing it all.
I did all the things that I had been doing earlier in the game. It's just at that point, he just wanted it more than he ever did.
Here's Thomas, and the foul.
Once Isiah got on that roll, there was a sense, and if you looked at Yubi's face in front of the bench, that the Knicks were going to lose the game because Isiah was just going to score every time. He was hitting from everywhere, from every angle.
Isiah, it's 4-1.
The Knicks are really worried. They know who's going to get the ball. Absolutely nothing they can do about it.
Isiah, 3-point attempt. He's got it. We're tied.
I remember going back to the huddle and just crying because I was so emotional and it was feeling so good.
He scored 16 points in 94 seconds.
That's unheard of. If you try to explain that to somebody that's, played this game and didn't see that tape, they say, oh, come on, you got to be kidding.
And fittingly, Isiah would have a chance to win the game in the final seconds.
Here's Thomas. He's stripped by Walker. Gets it down to Tucker. 2 seconds. He tries to get it away. Let's see if
Walker was fouled before. Walker was fouled before. Darrell Garrison is not going to allow, as timeout ran out, Hubie Brown Detroit has new life as well as the Knicks had new life. We only have 5 more minutes to play, Marv. Buckle up.
As this pivotal contest moved into overtime, it was clear that the two stars were pushing each other to greater heights than anyone could have imagined.
It really became a one-on-one duel. I think he was trying to do everything he could to make his team win, and so was I.
In overtime, Isiah would continue his remarkable performance.
And Thomas does it again.
But King, equal to the challenge, would give the Knicks the lead.
Yes, 44 points for Bernard King.
And then, with the game slipping away for the Pistons, King would deliver one final blow.
Lewis went up with the left hand. King with a sensational rebound.
And that could have been the backbreaker right there.
Don't ask me how I jumped that high. I don't know. I probably never jumped that high before in my entire career.
You just stopped for a second and realized how high up in the air he was, and from how far away from the actual play he had come, it was almost as if he was just going to will the Knicks to win that series.
And that's it. The New York Knicks have defeated the Detroit Pistons in overtime to take the series in 5.
I remember losing after that game, just being so physically and emotionally spent. I didn't even shower, and I didn't say a word for about 2 days. And I just laid there in my stanky, sweaty, nasty uniform.
It had been an unforgettable playoff duel. And for Bernard King and Isiah Thomas, it cemented their place as two of the game's all-time greats.
That particular 94 seconds is the one that elevated Isiah Thomas to superstar status. It was truly a performance that is like one you'll never see again. And we've seen the Michaels do 60, we've seen the Birds do 50, 60, but Bernard King in that series was uncontrollable. He had a series for a lifetime.